So we have a tradition in the church where outgoing pastors leave a stole for the incoming pastor to put on, a symbolic way of putting on the mantle of leadership in the church. The time-honored tradition, very full of history in the church, tradition in the church. But I gotta tell you, that is not the moment when I feel I have taken on the mantle of the church. I'll tell you when it happens. It's when somebody comes to you with a key ring and says, "Here's the keys." Kieran did that for me just a couple of months ago. "Here's your keys." That's nicely labeled too. Except one, there's a skeleton key in there that had no label on it. I had to rack my brain to remember where he told me that key went to. Finally remembered it yesterday. But there's that moment when you receive those keys and it becomes real. Because there's a lot of work when we do the transitions in churches. But it's that moment when it's almost as if the community is saying, "We trust you enough to let you into our building. You don't need to ask permission to walk in anymore. We trust you enough just to walk in because you are going to be the one to be leading us to where we're going." First two churches I served, I think there was one key for each of them. Second two churches, there were two keys. Third church, there were three. And now I have this huge key ring that I hide in my office because God knows I am not carrying that thing around with me. I tighten my belt just a little bit so they don't fall off when I put them on my carabiner that I carry with me. But I kind of wonder, what must have been feeling like for Peter when Jesus says, "I am giving you the keys of the kingdom"? Good Lord, I am terrified I'm going to lock my keys in somewhere or forget to lock a door somewhere, and I'm going to get in so much trouble because I did something wrong with these keys to this one building that I have been charged with. What must Peter have felt like when Jesus said to him, "I give you the keys to the kingdom"? What an amazing responsibility that I would absolutely hate to have. I don't know about anybody else, but I have enough trouble remembering to lock my door when I leave, much less being charged with the care of the kingdom. I gotta tell you, there's some times when I feel like I know exactly how Peter feels. There are some times in my life when I'm like, yeah, I'd probably have done the exact same thing Peter just did. Remember just a couple of weeks ago in the lectionary, we had that text when Peter jumps out of the boat because he loves Jesus so much, he wants to be so close to Jesus, and then he starts walking over on the water to Jesus. He starts to sink. I kind of feel like I might know what that feels like. Trusting and loving in something so much that, jump out without even thinking about it, and all of a sudden the terror arrives, and I start to notice I'm sinking, and I don't know how to save myself. That I understand. I understand that feeling. But there are some things Peter does that not my nature. So Jesus and the disciples arrive in a place called Caesarea Philippi. And Jesus asks the question, "Who do people say that I am?" And the disciples all chime up with an answer, right? Some say you're one of the great old prophets. Some say you're John the Baptist. We don't know exactly, but people are saying you're one of the great ones. And then Jesus does the thing. Asks the question that I think I would have been terrified to answer. He asks the question, "Who do you say that I am?" I have enough trouble when the waitress asks me if I want soup or salad. Having Jesus Christ ask me, "Who do you say that I am?" I couldn't do that. I would clam up. I would be terrified to give the wrong answer. But Peter stands up, straightens out his tunic, says, "You're the Son of God. You're the Messiah. All the hopes, all the dreams, they rest on you. And that's when Jesus says, you got it right, Peter. You said the exact right thing. And I think part of what Peter gets right is he says it in the right place. Because it's easy for us to say that when it doesn't matter. I'm going to tell you where Peter says this, because this changes the story entirely. Peter says this in the region of Caesarea Philippi. If you don't know what Caesarea Philippi looks like, I don't blame you. It's a little ways from here. But imagine a great stone cliff. And built into that cliff are temples dedicated to the gods, dedicated to the emperors. They're standing in the midst of this great building project in the side of this stone cliff. This project that says the old gods are amazing. And the emperors, the rulers, are amazing. They are our leaders. They are the ones that we trust. They are the ones that we go to with all our problems. And it's almost like Peter says, you see that greatness standing behind us? You see that stone face with these beautiful temples carved into it? All of that is hogwash. None of that matters. Those temples, that cliffside, all of it will disappear one day. The living God is with us right now. Jesus Christ is with us right now. That's who we're here for. That's what we're doing. And in the midst of that shrine to the way the world always worked, Peter says, there's a different way. There's the way of Christ. And Jesus says, congratulations, Peter, you said it right. You said exactly what needed to be said, and you said it in a place where it was hard to say that. Surrounded by all the signs and evidence of the power of the empire, you identified the true power in the world, the presence of God with us. That is the foundation on which Christ says the church is built. Not on the stonework that they were looking at, not on the beautiful temples, but on the community that was being formed in that moment. They called it the ecclesia, the gathered assembly of people. That was the foundation that God was building on. Now, if I was building, I would use something sturdier than people. Because people will let us down. I would use something like rock to build on. That's pretty sturdy. But then again, I would probably also choose a Messiah who didn't go to the cross. I would choose a God who never showed weakness. But in that particular moment, in the midst of all the human vulnerability, Jesus says, this is what's important. This community that you're forming together. We are part of that community. We today, this gathered assembly, this is the foundation on which Jesus Christ is building something in the world today. And look at yourself right now, or look at your neighbor right now. It's hard to look at yourself when you don't have a mirror around. Look at your neighbor right now. Notice all the ways that your neighbor has screwed up this past week, or this past year. Make a list of all those ways that the person sitting right next to you maybe has let you down from time to time, and realize that Jesus Christ was okay with that. Because this was a foundation of community. And no matter how many times the individuals in a community may screw up, let us down, when we strive together, when we work together, when we live together, when we grow together, my God, what we can do together. What a gift we have been given. That our foundation of faith is built not on something that wears away with time, but on something that grows continuously. In Caesarea Philippi, there was that great cliff face. It's still there. After the 1960s, the war in the 1960s, there aren't many people that still live in that area. But the great cliff face is still there. But it is being slowly worn away. It was formed by a spring in that area. That's why people lived there, because there was that spring in the area. But that same spring that brought people to live there is slowly wearing this cliff away. One day it will be no more. But the community that Christ established so long ago, the community that we are still a part of, cannot be washed away, cannot be eroded with time, can only grow stronger and stronger the more we dedicate ourselves to it. I titled this message, The Day Peter Got It Right. And this is the first of a kind of two-part message. Next part I'm going to be sharing next week at first. Today is the day Peter got it right. But we also know that there's the day that Peter got it wrong. Oddly enough, they happen the same exact day. Because Jesus is going to go from handing Peter the keys to the kingdom to saying, "Get thee behind me, Satan," while looking Peter straight in the eye. There are days that we're all going to get it right. And there are going to be days when we get it wrong. There are going to be days when we glorify God with our outdoor voice, and there are going to be days when our terror, our fear, our insecurity keeps us from living fully who we are. But by the grace of God, the days we get it wrong are simply opportunities for us to grow so that we have more days of getting it right. And thank God that Peter got it right before he got it wrong. Let's be in prayer together. Most gracious and merciful God, we are coming to you as a community filled with imperfections. We are coming as a community that doesn't always do the right thing, doesn't always say the right thing, doesn't always know the right way to go at every given moment. But we are a community striving together, and what could be more glorious than that? That we strive together, that we struggle together, that we learn together, and that we grow together. But Lord, isn't that the foundation that our church is built on? The togetherness of our community. I give you thanks and praise, O God. Amen.
Amen.